Speaking of kicking chicken noodle nuggets, I had they put the Guy Fieri pasta sauce on sale, so I finally had some.
And?
It was on clearance. They were getting rid of it. Surprisingly mediocre.
Why is that?
Did you think it would be good or
Oh, I
bad?
thought it'd be like really good.
Really?
It's fucking, yeah, he's like a world famous chef and shit.
Yeah, but he didn't make it. He just they just gave him 5 pasta sauces to taste, and he said, "Go with this one. I'll put my name on this one." Like, this isn't his recipe.
I don't know.
I picture Guy Fieri as being like a Krusty the Clown, like, just slap my name on it.
Want to ring the bell?
I'm taking it back. I'm taking them all back.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I'm a loner, Daddy. I'm a rebel. I am the walrus.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to John Hates Movies, the movie review podcast where my friends prevent me from reversing the polarity on the podcast and instead force me to watch movies. This week, we have with us Eric Largent.
Tally ho.
We have Chris Arsenault.
Pseudoscience!
We have James Barrup.
Real science, but no Ghostbusters.
And we have Colin McMillan.
It's the ghost of science.
For those of you who are wondering what we watched this week, we watched the Netflix original movie. That's right, we're getting into Netflix official territory here.
Even though they're still not paying us.
No.
We need to be popular first.
Still waiting on that check, Netflix.
That's right.
Wink, wink.
Spectral.
Spectral, that's right. We watched Spectral. When an otherworldly force wreaks havoc on a war-torn European city.
Or wreaks havoc.
Shade alert. Shade alert.
It wrecks it too, though, because there was...
There was Reckon.
There was Reckon. Okay,
It was
anyway.
the Reckoning.
I reckon.
An engineer teams up with an elite special ops unit to stop it. Starring James Badge Dale, Emily Mortimer, Bruce Greenwood, and directed by Nick Matthew, or I'm going to say Matthew.
Can I just jump in right off the bat and say the fact that they refer to him in the synopsis as an engineer, they should specify a movie brand engineer. Like, in movies, engineers invent lasers and shit. Like, in real life, engineers measure the length of beams on power plants and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure we're all going to have something to say about the accuracy of
the scientific integrity of Spectral.
Exactly. But the person who picked this movie actually gets to go first, as is John Hates Movies tradition, and that would mean Chris.
Yay! So what's funny about whenever I pick a movie? Now, I just want to say this because I was thinking about it before we were recording
It stinks.
Almost every time I pick a movie, and the other tradition for the podcast is you also have to do the game. Now,
Yes.
I am not saying that every time I pick a movie, I end up writing the game during the podcast because I forgot until John announces that I picked the movie. But it has happened before. I just want to say I actually planned ahead this time.
Woo!
Yay!
So, Spectral. Let's start off with a couple things like...
This is Chris's dissertation right now.
Yeah,
he's got his
I have
papers
a
in front
pages.
of him. He's got pages here.
In conclusion,
Okay,
I would...
what do all these things have in common? Hey, y'all, watch this. Hold my beer.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that. What could go wrong? Trust me, and trust me, it's safe. Famous last words, just like, I can't wait for backup.
Yeah.
There was no reason he couldn't wait. There was no reason he couldn't wait.
That's true.
Also, I love Emily Mortensen.
Or Mortimer?
Mortimer? Yeah,
Yes.
there
I think
we
it's
go.
Mortimer.
Sure. Mortimer. My bad. Sorry, Emily.
You might love Emily Mortensen too.
Yeah, maybe. I also noticed that Stephen Root was not very funny.
No. They could have
Is that
made him...
Is that Khrushchev?
No,
Or
he
Loose
was,
Check?
he was
He was
he was
like
in
the
the
boss.
first 15 minutes of
Yeah.
the movie. He was the boss at
Oh,
DARPA.
yeah.
Who sent him
yeah.
over?
They could have
Yeah.
made him very Jimmy James like, and it would have been fun.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, yeah. The majority of the time when I see him, I just want him to be Jimmy James.
Yeah.
I got really excited when I
News
saw
radio.
him because I thought he'd be
Mhm.
more
Right?
in the
Funny.
movie.
Yeah. Or that. Yeah.
No, they could only afford Stephen Root for one day. So that's what they got.
But not his talent too.
He was like, he was like, sorry, Netflix, I gotta go. The game is on.
Oh, so we already started jabbing at this. This movie, the first half of this movie is actually pretty enjoyable, and you can throw away enough. You can do enough,
Suspension of
Yeah.
disbelief.
There you go.
Yep.
Thank you. Words that I needed. But pretty much as soon as he uses the phrase "reverse the polarity," and a camera turns into a flashlight.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my!
It's possible.
That's not how that works.
I kind of I was a little cringy there, but I'm like, you know what? Whatever, we'll get past this. It's fine. Continue on.
Jesus.
And then I was really confused because in my experience growing up, ghosts are supposed to stop when you look at them.
Right.
Thank you. My other big beef is let's destroy all the buildings because it's not like these things can't, they keep blowing up the buildings like they're attacking the damn things, but
Yeah.
it's like they can't go through the building. You're not creating
They can
something
go through
that's
the walls.
right. You're not creating like a barrier that's stopping them. You're not doing anything to them.
You're just breaking down all those
Right.
Moldovans' beautiful
Right,
houses.
right. The only thing that, like, when they're running, and then it occurred to me, oh, right, they're actually using their grenade launchers with the iron filing, so it might do something. But let's face it, it was pretty shitty. It probably saved them like seconds, but like
It would
for the
like
most
slow
part-
them down for
Yeah.
a while.
Yep.
It was not a spectacular solution when they were shooting them like across the way, though. That was pretty dumb.
That I feel like that was pretty dumb. Sums up a lot of Spectral.
Yeah. Also, we halfway through the movie, they established that they should have just called Iron Man.
It's true. They fucked up their shit.
Anyway,
Nobody knows how to reverse polarity like Iron Man.
Dude. Yeah, man. He would have had no problem in that last scene because he built this in a game with a box of scraps.
well, on that note, the key to pseudoscience is actually, I'd like to refer to when he starts building the weapons as hyper pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The key is
oh
to
my
sound
God.
extremely convincing as fuck. And then we have this great MacGyver montage where I love the scene. He rips a motherboard out of a laptop, and then
Oh my fucking
which
God.
was just the stupidest scene. And then it's followed up. He uses a hot glue gun with like incredible conviction.
Yep.
But they added the whirring noises like it was the impact driver that they showed 10 seconds earlier. Also, the hot glue gun was not plugged in. The cable was wrapped around the handle.
They also had like tape around it, so it looked like a badass future fixie tool instead of a hot glue gun.
Yes, but like the
anybody who works
conviction,
with a hot
he's like,
glue gun
it's
knows
like
that's a hot
the
glue gun.
conviction he uses.
Yep.
It's like, man, he's just sciencing the fuck out of that thing. I mean, it's hard enough to believe that he was able to produce weapons that were not only that they were reliable, effective, identical,
Oh man.
and like both women and Voltron, the more you hook up, the better they are. That's a shout out to Rooster
That's a
Teeth.
classic. That's a classic. There's one thing if there's one thing Rooster Teeth nailed, it's
Yes.
that little gem. No, man, chicks are like Voltron. The more you hook up, the better it gets.
Yep.
Right.
Honestly, like the movie felt really like started crushing my soul when he started like, well, we'll figure out what we have and we'll build it. Like, okay, I get you have an idea of something here, but I expected them to end up with like maybe like 4 very different cobbled together but he literally builds a full arsenal for a platoon of soldiers, including essentially a fucking sniper rifle for the one dude, which was actually really badass. And he even had the forethought to build in expansion. Right. And if that wasn't bad enough, but they all had like a heads-up display that gave them like all the information for the gun and everything he was doing. I'm like, man,
and perfectly
Chris, you're
tailored
killing me right
outputs.
perfect.
You're killing me. You're like, I'm
Two
crying
robots.
over here. Like, I'm actually crying over here. Like, hey, what do we have laying around? Well, we have this marching robot. No big deal.
Right.
Like,
I'm like, why didn't someone why didn't they put a giant cannon on the rover there and like someone battle mech it into like the I want to see someone riding that and like just that would have been me.
That would
I would have been riding that fucking
Oh my God.
robot.
Oh
With like
my
a
Lord.
massive
Just
cannon.
CG something
right?
in the scene later.
Or better
Oh my
yet,
God.
or better yet, he has all this technology. Why don't robot, remote the dog in there with a cannon and start pew-pewing everything? Would have saved lives. This movie doesn't
why
care
don't you
about
put
saving
fucking
lives.
Ghost gun on the robot.
Oh no!
I don't know.
Does
Why
not
don't you
There was
put
a
the
ghost
fucking
gun on the
ghost
robot.
gun on
Like
the
by
robot? No, that
by
was the
40
ghost
minutes
flashlight.
in, the kill count is like around 20.
It's way higher than that. This
Yeah.
movie didn't care for lives at all. It just blasted through them like fucking spectral beings through flesh.
Yeah.
What kind of emergency shutdown procedure requires you to disable 8 mechanisms with a fucking wrench?
Like a super wrench.
A unique.
Yeah.
An Uber wrench. It's an Uber wrench.
A proprietary
They have
Uber
literally
wrench.
millions spent on this facility, and the emergency shutdown can only be done manually,
Manual.
even though it's a computer system.
Yep.
Yeah, murderous science
It couldn't
ghosts.
be more complicated.
Yeah,
It's not available by remote, and it was super unsafe. Because, like, he had to, like, wrench those things off and then, like, hit that lever, but he was, like, literally hanging off of that damn thing to pull that lever. I'm like, that's just unsafe.
Why are the plugs hanging out in space?
Right?
Like, what the why are they on the floor?
That whole facility, you don't have, like, a button that, like, manually, like, pushes, like, a hydraulic rod up and, like, disconnects all this stuff. Like, emergency shutdown should be a button.
I was actually just kind of blown away that this super smart guy forgot to pull the lever. And he's like, it's not working. What do I do?
I programmed all these guns and robots. How do I pull a lever?
Well,
We had to justify
he was smarted
that CIA
out.
woman there being.
He was smarted out.
That's it.
He ran out of brains.
Yep.
Right?
Exhausted his brain juice.
It happens to the best of us. I mean, you guys might not understand that, but okay. So as I said, this movie was fraught with problems. Let's call them problems. Let's just say problems. I would like to say I enjoyed this movie, but I didn't. And it's funny because this is right up my alley. And like I said, midway when he decided to reverse polarity, I'm like, you got really Star Trekky there.
Yep. It was reverse polarity on the power
It was the dumbest damn thing, and I'm like, but I was willing to move past it. But like I said, the weapon montage and what he produced from that was too much for me. Like if that didn't go that way, if they just took that scene, like I said, made it different, and then like I said, produced like a bunch of cobbled together weapons that might or if they showed them failing, because like he literally just hot glued these together apparently.
Falls apart.
Well,
Right?
like to even mention it, like we've never even tested these
Right?
before.
But they worked perfectly.
Right, and they all work
flawlessly,
perfectly.
I will say.
And successfully fucking blow up science ghosts.
Right?
So
Right. That was that if they wrote that better, if they filmed that better, that whole part was better, I would have I would be able to stick up for this movie. But I can't, because it's like they were obviously it was an over the top kind of thing, and it was an interesting, like, because you didn't know what the hell they were. Then it's like, oh, Einstein.
Bose Einstein condensate.
Yep.
Bose Einstein condensate.
Yeah, and it's I guess that's the part that bothers me the most. The being able to get through the plot hinges on you not being smart enough to know the complete hackneyed, explanation and pseudoscience. But let's face it, the type of movie you just made is a rather deep sci-fi movie that you're only going to get people who are going to know better to actually watch it.
Exactly.
So it's like you made a movie for a target audience who cannot, with good reason, appreciate the movie.
Yep.
That's correct.
Yep.
And that's Spectral.
There's a lot. Oh boy.
And like I said, I wanted to like this movie.
Chris just Shaquille O'Neal'd this review.
Yeah,
Fucking ran up for a massive dunk and fucking ripped the rim down.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
100% correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I'm not really sure Chris missed any beats there. Really,
No, nope. I think he got it.
Like nobody
I
else
mean-
can shoot at the basket now because Chris fucking ripped it down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
so let me
game
go next
delay.
because I fuck up everything.
All right, so but I think I've
Yeah.
go ahead and try to follow me up at this point, I guess.
It's okay. I'm saving all my energy for winning the game.
Yep. he's due. John's like Shaq, but at the free throw line.
Wow, that's a
I know
sports
some things.
joke everyone can
He's been
enjoy.
working on his 3-point game since the 90s, but he's been working on it.
That's right. So, who's next?
I am.
Me.
James
Oh,
is going to try. James is going to try.
Because everybody says... Because I fuck up anyway, so, let me clear the table here. Okay. All right. So, first off, I want to say that this movie, I liked it. I enjoyed it, actually, a bit. And
Yeah, you're already done fucked up.
Oh, yep.
You know what, James? I didn't hate this movie.
Yes, it's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it is definitely, like, I personally feel it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
And there are things in this movie that surprised me, and I want to say, like...
I wouldn't tell people not to watch it because of what it was, but
I
they
expect
could
a minor bit of
they could have
shittery.
done a little bit and made it significantly better.
Right.
They could have had like a whole star more just by change the weapon making
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, like
That's it.
they needed a bit of a script doctor on this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So here's
But they wanted Stephen Root, so they fired the writer.
but they could only pay him phone it in right. So,
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, so like I said, there are things in this movie that genuinely surprised me, which is rare for a movie nowadays. You know, I think that it's best to watch this movie before like listening to the reviews that we're going to get into. 'Cause
Yeah,
we're gonna
don't listen to
spoil
the podcast.
Turn this off right now.
and then watch the movie and then listen to it.
Watch the movie and then listen to us talk about it because you'll probably agree with a lot of what we have to say about it.
Yeah.
And you can feel like you're watching along with us with your 5 best friends, the
Exactly.
John Hates Movies podcast.
Yep.
That's right.
Hooray.
And I would have never watched this movie if Chris hadn't suggested
Forced us?
that. Yeah,
Me neither.
yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I kind of figured none of you would have watched this otherwise.
no, we were talking a lot of shit about it before actually watching it, and I have to admit, I'm glad I watched it.
Mhm.
And this movie did something like what this movie did good is that this movie did what
Superman does good. This movie did well.
I like that. Yeah, I forgot about that line from the movie. Yes. So anyway,
It's 30 Rock, I think.
Yep,
oh, yeah.
it is.
All right. So this movie did something that I really haven't seen since like Aliens, which is combine a monster movie with an action movie. And it actually did that pretty
Right.
darn well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that was really cool, and like the mystery behind what they were was really cool, and the monsters were freaky and scary and shit. But there were a lot of things that annoyed me, like the fact that it took them so long to understand that iron fucking slowed them down. As soon as the dude saw the guy in tub,
Like in the tub.
like if he's smart enough to like build all this crazy shit, he should go, oh, they can't get through iron.
Well, the fact that a guy sat there, survived apparently days, yeah. What, a clawfoot cast iron fucking tub? That's not a fucking dead giveaway. But then he doesn't give it credit to the fucking cast iron. He gives it credit to the fucking ceramic coating on the fucking cast iron tub.
Well, it could have been a
Just
ceramic tub, but certain types of ceramic have iron fillings in them.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
But
an
like-
iron
but like
tub
any-
with a ceramic coating.
Yeah.
Any
Trust.
person with half a brain would have seen that and been like, golly, why was he safe in the tub?
Right.
Oh,
So
they must
obviously
not be
they
able
should
to
have
get
just,
through that.
wrapped themselves
Because
in
they
like
hate
iron.
getting wet.
Yeah. They don't want to take a bath. That's why they're so angry.
They can't take baths. That's why the soap falls right through them.
Oh.
And then if they pick it up.
You've got that. You got these baddies. You got some good action, like all that shit.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
The bits where they're like in the town square waiting for a pickup, and the thing just charges the tank. That was fucking sweet.
Yes.
I was
That
not
was
expecting,
awesome.
I was
Okay.
not expecting it to be able to do that.
Yeah.
The tank scene was cool.
Yes.
Yep. And then they fucking kill the boy, which is like, you don't do that in movies.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like, that really shocked me. You can kill dogs all day.
Whoa,
See,
whoa,
it-
whoa,
whoa,
I would
whoa,
rather them kill
no.
children than dogs.
Oh, me
No,
too.
you never kill the
didn't-
dog.
It didn't shock me because the body count in this movie was like expanding rapidly, and it's just like they're just at one point in this movie you felt like they're just going to kill everybody because
Yeah.
who
Oh,
cares?
yeah.
Killing a child was literally the only place they could go to raise the stakes.
Yeah.
It was, and I mean, I thought it was cheap. So
Oh, it's super cheap.
Super cheap, but the thing is that is like a rule of movie, even horror movies. You never kill kids. But like I said, in the same movie industry, you can kill dogs all day long and nobody will shelve
where
your
are you
movie.
getting this dog killing?
Yeah.
Like in
Why do you hate
Independence
dogs?
Day. In Independence Day, they didn't kill a dog.
Marley
kill
and Me,
you can
Where
kill
the Red
gay
Ferns
dudes.
Grow, Old Yeller.
But those were specifically about...
Those are movies about dogs dying.
Yeah.
That's like
Movies
the
about
biggest event.
dogs.
It's not like dogs haphazardly died.
That's
Every
the only
movie
way-
about a dog, the dog dies.
That's because that's literally
kind
the
of
only
true.
drama in a
No,
dog's
it's fucking
life.
cheap.
What about Milo and Otis, yo?
Yeah, I like that,
That was
movie
about a
because
cat.
the dog didn't fucking die.
Homeward Bound.
But you know what?
Also, the dog survived.
In movies,
both
in
of
movies about humans,
The
you
dog
never
doesn't
kill
die.
the dog.
Yeah.
You never
No.
kill the dog.
No.
Hey,
Well, if you do, you have the decency to do it off screen. You hear
Yeah, you don't show it.
fucking I Am Legend.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
yes,
hello.
okay.
Okay.
There you
That
go.
movie's about dogs, though. Because literally, the main character, like the one
Will
of the main
Smith
characters
is a dog
So.
in
Yeah,
that
he's a
movie,
dog.
so
Yeah,
like,
he is.
Okay. So
Well, I
there's
think
no
the
hard
key
and fast
to it
rule
is
on
that you
this.
need to
He's
have...
the DJ, I'm the rapper.
I'm the terrier.
Go ahead.
That's my contribution.
The point being is that there are movies that have been shelved by the studios because children have died in them, in the script, and like the movie.
Well, this isn't a studio film.
Yeah, I know.
This is a Netflix film.
Yeah.
Not
Netflix has free range.
not actually true.
Kill as many children as they want.
This
You heard it
movie-
here first.
No, man. This movie was made by Legendary Pictures and Universal Pictures. They declined to release it, and Netflix
So-
bought the rights.
Yeah.
Probably
I can't
because the
imagine
kid died.
why.
I don't maybe, but yeah, they declined the rights. Netflix bought them and put it out.
Well, there
That's
you go.
how this movie happened. Yeah,
Yep.
it didn't start as a Netflix original. It was
Yeah.
originally a studio movie.
But Netflix has
Yeah.
no issue claiming that stuff is Netflix original, even though they're not the first to put it out.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Oh,
so
yeah.
this was going to be
Yeah.
straight to video,
Oh, yeah.
but then Netflix just made it straight to Netflix.
That's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, same
You know,
thing
for
happened to Trick
straight
or
to
Treat.
video, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yep.
like
Or
it's
straight
better
to
than
video.
most action movies
Yeah.
nowadays. Period.
It's definitely better than what you typically see as like a sci-fi original kind of
It's
thing.
better than literally any Nick Cage movie from the last 5 years, which have all been straight to video.
You
Angela.
you guys are saying it's better than a piece of shit. Like that's a compliment to the movie. Like
This movie wasn't.
You
This
guys
movie
are
wasn't straight
qualif-
garbage. It wasn't.
no.
I disagree with that.
Okay, yeah,
It wasn't-
Kyle, well, you'll have time to talk about that in your
Yep,
review.
I will
So-
It
get to
wasn't
that.
straight garbage.
Yeah. So let's see. The dog walker rover things are pretty badass. A lot of the tech design in this movie was pretty badass. So like that's like the good things, but the like what Chris was saying, what you really need to like elevate an action movie. I mean, let's forget about the tech for a second because I'll get into that. But to really elevate an action movie into the point where it becomes great is great characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because Aliens had that,
Mhm.
fucking Lethal Weapon, you name it, all these things, like, they're decent action movies, but the characters are so interesting
Right.
that as soon as they're in danger, you're invested.
Yeah,
The
they
people in this
never
movie were-
really caused us to build any rapport with any of the
characters.
So
in it, yeah.
one thing I was
They're all
going to
fairly
get
cookie cutter.
one thing I was going to get into in my review is this movie had the skeleton of a decent script.
Yes.
But it just needed a punch up in the worst way. Like it needed the characters to be interesting, and it needed the dialogue to be more interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's get into the science.
Actually, to be honest with you, the most interesting characters in the whole movie were the two kids.
Yeah.
Well, and their dad.
Yeah.
Who died.
Yeah.
Who's
dead
not
before
even
they
ever
even showed
alive in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, the thing about the camera becoming a flashlight, all right, with a multi-spectral camera, like a fucking night vision camera, the way those work is that they have a flashlight that shoots out UV light, and then they have special camera lenses that pick up that UV light. So it's not completely absurd that he could turn this camera into something. It's weird that these things would fluoresce with a certain type of wavelength.
Yes.
But
That it would turn it into visible light for people.
yes.
Yeah. Like to the naked eye, visible.
To the
light.
naked eye, yes.
That's
That's
not
not
like
the problem
I'm going to get to that.
Nonetheless, okay, so we find out later on that these are Bose-Einstein constant states things.
condensates.
Condensates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I...
Bozo constant states. Yeah.
Yep. I actually studied these, but this a little...
We got
long
the
before movie.
Wikipedia page coming up right now.
Yep, I looked it up too.
I studied it long before the movie during my nanotechnology class that I took, and we were just basically studying the fringes of science and shit,
alternate states of matter,
yes,
beyond
exactly.
the three
and
solid liquid gas.
superconductors and
shit.
shit.
Yeah.
So Bose-Einstein condensates are really fucking cool, and it's really interesting and inspired that they use that as the bad guys.
Yes, it is.
However, there's a lot of issues. If you have somebody who would hear that and go, "Oh shit," they would know more. Exactly like Chris. So one thing is that they're subatomic. Like the amounts that we have made so far are subatomic, but they look larger than atomic because they refract so much light. They are so dense, so they would be super visible. in their native form.
More likely to appear almost black hole-ish
Yes.
in nature.
And they are actually so dense
Which
that
actually
they
would
would
have
have
been
trouble.
cooler, because then, especially in the building scenes and whatnot, they could have just blended with the shadows and shit.
Exactly.
That would have been freaky as
Oh, that
fuck.
would have been
They
super
should
freaky.
have been dark.
However, the way they moved and they looked in this movie was really cool. They remind me of the Chozo ghosts in Metroid Prime.
It reminded me what happens when you win a game of solitaire.
Me and Eric, you're revealing that we both play different games. But yeah, so they would also have trouble not sinking through the ground because they're so dense that pretty much solid ground would be like liquid water to them. The cool bits about how they would flash freeze their enemies and shit, that's really cool. They would one of them would require so much fucking power, it would probably need an entire power plant to power it in itself.
Obviously, what they did, they built the power plant and then they plugged it into itself.
Yeah, right. I don't know why.
And then they reversed the polarity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the reverse of polarity line, I was just like, oh god. But
If
I
he
really
just said, I can convert the thing on this
Exactly.
to do.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. It just
yes,
didn't need
you
any
just needed
technobabble.
that.
It just didn't need the technobabble. If they just said, "Look,
I
I can
want-
convert this into a fucking ghost flashlight."
I want a scene in a movie or something where a scientist has a machine where part of it is just a bar magnet where it's north and south and it's painted red and blue. and the guy goes, "Can you reverse the polarity?" And he looks at it, looks at the guy, grabs the magnet, flips it upside down and goes, "Okay." Now what, genius?
We can kill the ghosts.
Because seriously, so making a robot weapon out of Bose-Einstein condensate is like saying I made a robot out of steam.
Yeah.
It really makes no sense. Even if you scanned humans and you built them back at a molecular level, that's like how I try to reverse engineer shit. It doesn't work. It never works to just take the exact same thing and slap it together. like just like the T-1000 or something, they said they got a control unit in it. It would need a control unit in it to make sense.
How exactly were all those central nervous systems like powering those ghosts?
Oh, they were plugged in.
They weren't
Duh.
powering, they were
You saw they had
controlling.
plugs.
They were
They were
controlling.
plugged in.
Ah.
They had
Their
plugs.
souls were in the thing,
Oh,
like
right.
basically.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
The weapon that he made at the beginning, like it's unclear, but that was the hanging on the mantle where he made the laser that melted the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bose-Einstein is really cold, so it's supposed to be like a superheater and thing. That last fight at the end was actually really fucking sweet, and the giant thing. I love how all of a sudden they have like super armor at the end that they made in a fucking cave with a bunch of scraps.
Yeah, they did. They all had like metal, like they all had iron armor.
I was like watching
But
that. I
did
was like,
stop
"You're
them
never
from dying.
Yeah.
I was like, we're not going to see them wearing the armor that they have on the cover. That armor is badass. And then they all of a sudden have it. And I'm like, why? But it was cool. I mean, I liked it.
Yeah,
but
when the one dude brought down that face mask, that was sweet.
they should all have that. Like from the, I mean, that was just fucking
It was cool.
sweet. It was cool.
It was cool.
But yeah, it's just, like when they came on the brains and the vats and the shit, like anytime there's like rain in a jar, I just think of like all the hilarious things that had brains in the jars, like the tick and the guy with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
His robot dog died, and he put it in a jar with like a speaker and a tongue coming out of the jar and shit.
Igor, where did you get this brain? It said normal on it.
Abby normal.
Abby something.
Abby something. Normal.
Normal. Abby normal. So, but like seriously, he just kills a bunch of people at the end there, and they already said at the beginning that they had like, touch sensitive prosthetics. This is why everybody needs to see RoboCop, because those people could have been saved.
Oh my god.
We can rebuild them.
Yeah.
These like Moldovans that are suffering.
They're all walking around as RoboCops.
No, they just want to shuffle off the mortal coil.
You don't know that.
No, they don't want to live.
They could want to be RoboCops.
No.
I would want.
All those people were in pain. They don't want to live anymore.
Drop
You
it.
don't know that until you put them in a RoboCop.
Yo,
And then
man.
they say, I'm in pain.
Nobody in Eastern Europe wants to live anymore.
I'm done.
All right.
Well, I'm glad we now no longer have the Eastern Bloc as listeners.
All right.
Oh boy.
Sum it up, worth a watch. I liked it, but not fantastic.
Okay, Colin, go.
I agree. Not fantastic. I gotta say, I think that we're really turning the leaf here on John Hates Movies, because I find myself really agreeing with Chris a lot lately.
The beat is
Okay,
gone.
I
So-
agree. Chris is awesome.
I agree. Chris is present.
Present.
So I watched this movie first thing this morning. I woke up still groggy, poured myself a glass of water, fired up Spectral. The title of this movie, Spectral. I'm like, okay, it's about ghosts, so I'm probably gonna like it. I like fucking ghosts and shit. We've talked about this before. You listen to the Awakening episode, like, oh, if you put ghosts in it, I almost always like it. Really did not like this movie at all. First of all, for most of it, I was incredibly bored. I just thought this movie was bland and uninteresting.
It did have a hard time holding my attention.
Yeah. Like, I found myself on my phone doing whatever else. Like, for a lot of this movie, I had to rewind parts because I missed shit that I thought I might have been interesting. I was wrong. This movie is actually shorter than you think it is, because there's so much fucking slow-mo that you're just waiting around, and like between the slow-mo, the visual effects, and the music, if you just sort of step aside for a second and like look at it with a real critical eye, there's lots of scenes where nothing is happening. Nothing's happening. There's nothing compelling on screen. They just glitzed it up with a bunch of effects. Whoever was in charge of the music clearly saw Inception.
Junkie XL, who is the new in vogue composer in Hollywood.
He's the new movie guy.
Well,
for
he
music.
did so he's worked with Hans Zimmer on a bunch of stuff. He did the score for Mad Max Fury Road.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising, because
So that's like
Mad
the
Max
most.
Fury Road was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, so this is like the most legit part of this movie is actually the guy that did the music.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like that sound, since it sort of happened in the Nolan movies, like Batman Begins and Inception and stuff. Like when you hear that sound, you sort of think like, oh, I'm supposed to be like really engaged right now. This is
Batman
like
versus Superman:
I
Dawn of
honestly
Justice.
hate
He wrote that badass
Woman?
the Wonder Woman score.
Wonder Woman fucking speed metal.
Like he's good. He's good.
Yeah, okay, so he is.
Yeah.
Just like in Love Actually, there's a lot of scenes where nothing is fucking happening, but the music is really exciting.
Yep.
You know, in Actually, it's pop songs that you know and love. So you're like, yay, I feel good. This is a feel good movie. In this, it's like, you know, Inception / Batman versus Superman. It's like super music, you know, and it's supposed to like get you really like hyped up about what's going on. But a lot of the times, literally, these are scenes where people are just standing looking at each other. I have a theory that this movie is what became of, you may recall a couple years ago, there was like big drama about, what was happening with the Ghostbusters franchise.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it was like all girl Ghostbusters and a bunch of people were like, that's terrible. Well, we're going to make another Ghostbusters reboot. That's all guys. And I think this is that movie.
Yep. I totally agree.
It's a bunch of fake science and goofy looking ghosts.
They got their proton packs on. They did their plasma packs or whatever.
They had their fucking, yes, like plasma beam weapons to fight ghosts.
Yep.
This is the all male review Ghostbusters remake. James talked a lot about Bose Einstein, and I looked up Bose Einstein, and it's real. But the big problem is they didn't think about how you would apply this in a real world scenario. They have created this state of matter, and it does mean very interesting things for like theoretical and quantum physics, and you know they're using this to figure out black holes. There's some very exciting real science behind the idea behind the specters in this movie. Except that they cannot exist outside.
Yeah.
They can't, because you get this condensate by taking a very low density gas and cooling it to almost absolute zero.
Yes.
Which means it can only exist in a completely temperature controlled environment. You
It can
cannot
only exist in a vacuum.
okay, we made the Bose-Einstein condensate, now let's send it outside to kill soldiers, because as soon as you open the door, it disappears.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can't exist
And
when it's
that-
not in a vacuum.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
and-
it can
and that-
exist with science so far.
Right. Oh, yeah. And I like that. I like that little toss off. Anything that we make has to evolve. It has to obey the rules, or it makes new rules, or whatever.
that.
Anyway, let's make some lasers. I mean, so like at first I just figured, okay, this must be like fake science, but I looked it up and it's real science, and that actually made me more mad because they went for real science and they fucking blew it.
Yeah. Has none of the properties of the actual thing.
No.
Yeah.
No. And when it's something that you can get a lot of information on in 1 minute of Googling, like you need to get that right. You know, you have a responsibility as a filmmaker to fucking get that
to
right.
at least read the Wikipedia once.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because we here, the cast of John Hates Movies, right now, literally can get it more accurately than they did when they made this movie, and that's wrong. That should not be the case. You should be able to leave this and go, "Wow, that was really cool how they used that bit of science."
Yep.
Not, "Wow, they really fucked up that." Like, and that's the whole reveal of the movie. That's like the linchpin. It's the thing that this movie is about. And they blew it. Now, early on in the movie, I was pretty sure this was going to be another Fern Gully style preach fest, where it's like, war is bad, so now there are angry ghosts. And honestly, after finishing it, I wish that was the case.
Wow.
I do, because because the end bit with the power plant and all the stuff, I mean, Chris talked about, you know, what the fuck is with this the kill switch is so goddamn complicated. The structure of that room makes no sense at all.
It's Mother Brain.
You know, like it is. Yes, it might as well be Mother Brain. I mean, this is some weird fucking shit. It might as well be the Event Horizon or Sphere. You know, like weird. Like where did you come up with this? Like this should be on a spaceship or something, because it's so ludicrous for anything that would exist on planet Earth that it's just not even remotely believable.
And yet people
Now,
like Minority Report.
I like Minority Report.
I also like Minority Report, which is weird. Well, okay, so this is the thing about Minority Report, and I'll tell you that this is where they should have done with this. Minority Report, though, well, we got these 3 psychic retards, and we put them in this jelly, and they fucking predict the future.
Right.
There's no attempt at being truly scientific there at all. It's pure fiction.
The council
and they're not even.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
we're going.
I mean, they're like they're not even trying to be like real about it. The big error in the explanation of what's going on in Spectral is they try to be real about it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
They should not have done that. No. They should have just been fucking ghosts, because Ghosts of War. Then you know what you're watching. It's fantasy. It's made up. It's speculative fiction. There's a couple other problems that I have. Number one, this is probably the least quotable movie ever made.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There is not one good line in this movie.
Like I said, it needed a punch up for sure.
Absolutely. It needed a writer. They had a cool idea. They didn't have a writer. Also, I already saw this movie years ago. It was called Final Fantasy Spirits Within. That was about angry war ghosts too. That touch you and you die. I saw a lot of that there, and I was disappointed with that movie too, so it wasn't really a good reminder. But let me tell you the number one way I think you could have really improved this movie, and it would have been much cooler. One ghost.
Yeah.
Oh.
One.
Yeah.
One ghost would have been badass in this movie. Just one, and he's killing everybody. And same shit goes down. It's just one ghost. 45 ghosts, what's the point? Like, I mean, you get that neat effect they had for the ghosts, but you could have got everything they did with a zillion ghosts, you could have done with one. And it would have made more sense that it was this weird prototype weapon. They made one prototype weapon, and it fucking killed everybody. And then you have one ghost, and then you find a way to defeat the one ghost, and you have a pretty good sci-fi war monster movie.
And then post-credit sting, there's a secret vault where there's 5 of them.
There's more monsters. Yeah, exactly. There were 3 monsters or whatever. Like, and see, you're already springboarding off of ideas that come out of there being one fucking ghost.
Right.
And maybe maybe it's a science ghost, maybe, whatever. But like, whatever it is, you only needed one.
Yeah.
And the stakes were not at all raised by there being 40. The tank scene, one ghost beating up a tank.
Yeah.
And it was fucking sweet.
Yep.
And you learn about the monster the same way. All that stuff can be the same. And I thought that there was a nice nod to supernatural sort of lore with like, it can't pass through iron filings or whatever. Like, there's been things like that in lore about ghosts before.
Mm-hmm.
Salt.
And
Iron.
yes, like,
Yeah.
circle of salt, silver, whatever, I don't see why you needed a zillion ghosts. To summarize, I really just thought this movie was really stupid. I didn't have much of an expectation because I was kind of like, okay, this is what we're reviewing, so here we go. But I was very disappointed. There is not really one compelling performance from any of the actors in this movie.
Yeah.
What wasn't ridiculous was terribly dull. And I just thought it was a terrible movie.
Eric!
Okay, so first off, I would like to say that I have no fucking clue what you guys are talking about. There was no James Bond. There were
God
no
damn it!
Bond girls. There was no like souped up Jaguar. There were no like secret agents or any of that shit. I thought, well, like
Jaws
Damn it.
wasn't in it.
right.
Pussy Galore wasn't in it.
You're thinking of Spectre. See, even when a joke's teed up, I miss it.
Yep.
That one was made for you, man.
No,
I love that we've been just stealing your thing because you've
You just refused to do it.
no, I don't refuse. I just forget. Try to remember my review before I go.
All right, now the next thing I kind of want to say about this movie is that there's an awful lot of subtlety to this movie, and I'm pretty sure that you guys just didn't pick up on.
Oh, yeah.
This I gotta hear.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm getting at here is that there's a beautiful thin line between saying that a movie has subtlety that other people didn't pick up on and just calling them stupid. And really, that's just what I wanted to do. Because honestly, no, there was not a lot of subtlety to this movie. So I said it before. The movie, the script needed a punch up. Like they had a decent idea for what they wanted to do with this movie in the script. But there were no good lines. There were no interesting characters, and that all could have been addressed if the dialogue was better. Now, in the production and editing of this movie, they admitted to themselves that the dialogue was bad, because I don't know if you guys noticed it, but after the halfway point in this movie, most of the dialogue in this movie was ADR'd. Like, it was just like their voices did not match up with their lips. They were not saying what they said. That is what was going on. This movie, like, the second half, they weren't saying what they were saying. Like, it all got fixed in post.
Damn.
Yeah,
I didn't notice that.
I did not catch that at all.
It's really bad. Like,
I only noticed it with the main character,
right.
And I thought that like he just had a heavy accent, and so they had to ADR.
No, there was one scene where he like gives it's when they're making the weapons in the barracks. Like, he gives a speech. But like, he delivers the whole speech like with his back to the camera, and like when they're showing his mouth, it like doesn't line up. Like, there's a lot of ADR in this movie. This movie has slow pacing. Like, the pacing really could have been better. The editing wasn't very good. They could have tightened up the editing quite a bit. One thing they did do in this movie that I did appreciate is most of, like, other than the ghost effects themselves, most of the visuals in this movie are practical.
Yep.
Like, they really did
That's
just blow a bunch of stuff up. And like, they were in real places. Like, this movie didn't happen on a green screen. Like, they shot real things and made real explosions, and like, they were running around in real environments, and that made it look interesting, even though we're in like an Eastern European, like, former Soviet bloc country where everything is like concrete tenements and shit like that. Like, it still looked pretty good. Now, there were actually a couple parts in this movie where I was impressed by the shots that the director came up with. There was a scene where they were going down they were like rappelling down a hole, and like the camera followed them. Like, the camera rappelled first, but like shot up. And like, the people jumped over the side, like, after the camera. That looked cool. There were a couple of other scenes in the movie where it was the final scene where they had created all of their like special super future weapons and were fighting across the bridge at the power plant with the Spectrals. And like, there were some like, they must have been drone shots like that just like swept across the scene, and you could see the fighters on one side and the Spectrals on the other side. It looked good. Like, there were some like really visually engaging shots in this movie. And like there were things that this movie did really well, like that. Like, I thought the direction in the movie was good. I really did. Now, the general or whoever, like the guy that was like the head of the base, they just decided that they wanted him to give the fucking Bill Pullman speech from Independence Day, but like, he had nothing to say.
I know.
You don't need to do that.
No, Rowdy
do that. Oh, shit. I'm breaking stuff in my house. You just didn't need to do that. Just cut it. Just cut it out of the movie. It doesn't need to be there. Now, I guess the last thing I'll say about this movie is it would have been, I absolutely would have loved it, because they were talking about fucking Bose-Einstein condensates and other kind of like pseudoscience. Well, that's not pseudoscience, but like, there's a lot of pseudoscience bullshit in this movie. Ultimately, I really would have loved it if at the end they get down and they like find where these monsters are coming from, and it's just this one Moldovan dude like in the power plant that like really loves to vape, and he's just like blowing
the fucking Spectral comes out as well.
This movie is totally
he's
like,
got all these like, he's got all these central nervous systems, and he's just like blowing this radioactive
That's
vape
why all
across
the
them.
8 pipes, man.
this is
leading to
this
one
is like
vape.
It's just
this is
like,
what it's like when somebody vapes at your party.
Yeah, it's
by
like-
the way, like this
at the end
movie
of
is
it,
like
it's
that.
like like they get to the end, and the power plant is the gnarliest vape rig of all time.
Oh,
That this
Jesus.
one Moldovan dude is hooked up and just keeps on like blowing these fucking massive clouds.
Fucking
Oh my god.
You want some? It's cherry.
Jesus Christ.
It tastes like pepperoni.
It's my own blend. Your voice gets really deep when you take a big hit.
Dude, take a big old fucking rip off the vape.
Oh my god.
It's a guy surrounded by like empty boxes of Arby's taking massive rips off his vape.
Gary Johnson.
So the emergency shutdown is an intervention. So that's why it was so complicated. It had to it symbolized how difficult it is to make someone change.
So yeah, like this movie, it had a good idea. Like the premise is a good idea.
Yeah.
Like these are physical world spectral beings, but they technobabble pseudoscience bullshitted like the goodness out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue wasn't good. The action scenes were good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately you're left with a movie that's just like, well, I'm not mad that I watched that, but it really could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
That's what I'm mad about.
Yeah.
That it could have been so much better.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's Spectral.
Yeah, I have to concur, and I'm just going to launch into my review here, and mine is going to be short because pretty much everything has already been said, but there are a couple of things that I did want to point out. Primarily, Chris picked this movie to piss me off. Because before the movie was picked, we were discussing if he was going to pick it or not, and I said, I watched 5 minutes of it and turned it off. And Chris said, "We're watching it." So
not all of that made it into the episode last week, but some of it's there.
Right. But that's the backstory behind it there. So I was sitting there and preparing myself to watch this after having already tried to watch it and failing. So I sat down, and after that initial 5 minutes, once you get past the dumbassery of the I can't wait for backup.
Oh boy.
The movie kind of almost starts building a decent movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it lasts for a little while, and like Colin, I'm on board. I'm really on board with the one monster, and I thought that's what I was going to get.
Yeah,
because when it comes in there and it starts killing everybody, when they first get to that building and they set up the Marine crew and everything like that, and they've got all the people and they start nailing it down to like just a few, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be Predator with Ghost.
Ooh.
yeah.
Ooh.
That'd be so sweet.
That's what it could have been.
Yeah, and
that would be so sweet.
I was on board, and I was
vapes,
totally ready. I was totally on board with this until he said reverse the polarity. That took me
That really
right
is
out
like
of
the
it.
first. That's like the shot.
Yeah.
If
The
it
fatal
vapes,
shot.
If it vapes, you can kill it.
And right after that, it all went downhill. From there.
Yep.
So this could have been good. This really could have been. I think out of all of the movies that we've watched on the podcast, this is the worst movie with the most
Potential.
promise. Yeah.
Yep, it's
That
the
we've
bad
watched.
movie that had the most potential to be good.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I'm with you.
that's basically my review for this. So, I mean, like Chris or anybody else here on this podcast, I'm not going to tell you not to watch it, but you're not going to get what you want out of it. And that's just the truth.
Yep.
So we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to play the game, which I am going to win, and therefore pick the best movie you guys have ever seen in your life.
Oh.
So we'll be right back with the game.
All right.
Yeah.
Tally ho, John Hates Movies listeners. It's Eric Largent with a quick reminder of how you can find us. The best way to stay appraised of all of our activity is to follow us on Facebook at John Hates Movies. There we'll post all of our new episodes as well as whatever we're feeling interested in at the moment. Please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast service like iTunes, Stitcher, or Podcast and Radio Addict. If you subscribe to us on iTunes, please leave us a comment. We read every single one, and they're much appreciated. You can also follow us on Twitter at John Hates Movies, or follow me on Twitter at Eric Largent.
Now, stay tuned for the game and find out what movie we get to watch next week. And if you're feeling adventurous, watch along with us and leave us a comment on Facebook telling us what you thought of the movie. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for the game.
And we're back. That's right, everyone. It is now time for your favorite part of mine. It is time for the game.
Yeah.
Pew, 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 pew.
Bow, bow, bow.
Wow, crit check. I got the Nike 201 special London edition.
That's right. And as is John Hates Movies tradition, the person who who picked the movie gets to run the game, which, as was previously mentioned, is Chris.
The chicken connoisseur, you boy.
Succulent.
All right, Chris.
Bow, bow, bow.
What have you got?
I have a game, and I'm sorry, John. A game that you'll have to think on this and actually come up with answers.
Damn it.
Be a little creative. However, I will give you 4 scenarios, and
Okay.
you'll be coming up with one for each.
It's not a trivia game?
It's not a trivia game.
Because I'm on the books as the 4th best trivia player in the state of Michigan.
Damn.
Yeah, you
Just
believe everything
outside
you
of
read
the
in a
money.
book.
So what this game is, it's called Fortunately, Unfortunately.
Okay.
So I give you a scenario that is the fortunately, and then you supply an unfortunately.
Ah.
So you guys will each do this for all 4 of these. So if you want pen and paper, do that. If you riff it off your mind bubble, then do that. All right. So starting out. Fortunately, walking home the other day, I found a $100 bill.
Unfortunately, I found it in the parking lot of a strip club, and the stripper's pimp beat me up after I picked up the $100. So now I'm in traction in the hospital.
Aww.
Unfortunately, after the recent economic collapse due to President Trump, it is only worth 50 cents.
Unfortunately, it was attached to a malicious vaping machine.
Unfortunately, it turned out it was mine and I had dropped it.
Oh,
That's just sad.
like that's the saddest of all. Yes, finding your own money.
Okay. Fortunately, my date went extremely well, and I totally had sex. Unfortunately,
It was with a cactus.
Damn it, I was going to go, it was Tony Shalhoub. He was the top.
Unfortunately, she invited me to our family reunion the next weekend.
Oh.
nice.
Okay, so fortunately, I went on a really good date and ended up having sex. Unfortunately, during the sex, she reversed the polarity and I fucked myself.
No, stop! Stop being good.
Damn.
All right. Fortunately, I finally finished my degree. Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, there is no strong demand for sandwich repair.
Damn it. Unfortunately, it was preschool.
Fortunately, I finished my degree. Unfortunately, it was 0 degree Kelvin and now I'm a science ghost.
Jesus.
Fortunately, I finished my degree. Unfortunately, it was from University of Phoenix Online, and now nobody at the call center will take me seriously.
Yeah. That's sad because it's true.
all right. Last one. Fortunately, I figured out how to stop the ghost-like entities killing everyone. Unfortunately, as in they are killing people, not that I killed everyone.
Unfortunately, somebody filmed it.
Unfortunately, I was in the movie and now my career is over.
Unfortunately, none of the brains actually wanted to die, and now we have too many RoboCops.
Aww.
You know, I've been pretty much giving you guys a point for just giving me an answer, at least. James, you get no points here.
Yeah, that movie.
Unfortunately, nobody was laughing at my jokes in this movie, so I'll just have to do something stupid next, like Caddyshack. Sorry, that was a Bill Murray Ghostbusters joke.
Oh. We all kind of had a suck round this time.
All right, let me tally up everything. Here is where we're at.
All right.
Last, we have James with 4.
Damn it!
Then we have John with 6.
Oh.
And then tied for first is Eric and Colin with 7.
Oh, shit.
Woo-hoo! So now I do have to come up with a
Bonus round.
And for my bonus round, I'm going to steal something I found on the internet because it was hilarious.
All right.
So this is no longer fortunately, unfortunately. You guys are going to have to actually come up with the proper answer for this.
This is bullshit. This is like in The Wizard when they reveal Super Mario 3. There weren't supposed to be any new games.
So, like I said, I stole this from the internet. I can't source it because I don't remember where whoever posted it stole it from, but I'm just acknowledging this is not my idea. You and a super smart snail are both given $1 million and immortality.
A super smart what?
Snail
Okay.
are given both $1 million and immortality. The only clause here is that if you touch the snail or the snail touches you, you both die. How do you handle the situation?
I just don't think this is very hard. I don't think this is very hard. Because, but the snail's super smart, so he would probably understand this agreement. Like, just leave him alone. Just go live your life.
Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. You don't know.
A super smart snail.
But you don't know what the snail's thinking?
No, I don't. But why would he want to self-destruct by messing with me? He's got $1 million and he's super smart. Yeah, I mean, like, the snail and I, like, give each other this sort of, like, sup nod and go our separate ways. Like, he's cool. He's a snail. He's fine. He's got a shell. He's got $1 million. I'm fine. I don't need to be touching a snail. What's the problem here? This is a really easy thing. You just do nothing.
That's Colin's answer.
Do nothing. I live my life. Farewell, snail. I wish you well. If you can understand me in your little shell, live your life. Be well.
Okay, so obviously the idea here is that this snail, like, I have to be afraid of this snail chasing me down and, like, eventually touching me at some point in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like, and I have to just assume that this snail is going to be following me. So I'm going to get on my bike and slowly ride to Cape Canaveral, where I trick the snail to get on a rocket that's sending a satellite out into space, and then the snail gets launched out into the lower atmosphere, where it, like, lives out the rest of its days orbiting the Earth in a satellite, and I can just, like, enjoy the rest of my $1 million.
See, that's a bad idea, Eric, because now you got a snail that you sent into space, and he's going to find a way to come back to Earth for revenge.
No, man.
He can crash the satellite, and he won't die. He won't die if he crashes the satellite. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
He's unkillable.
How is he going to affect the course of the satellite to come back to Earth?
He is super smart. Duh. Didn't you hear the description? He's super smart. You think he can't figure out a fucking satellite? Come on.
He's going to reverse the polarity of the satellite.
He reverses the polarity of the satellite. It crashes into Earth, and then he's out to get you. And now his one goal is revenge. He's going to touch you, even if it means his own destruction, because he needs to fuck you up. This is a bad plan. You don't send a snail into space. You just let him go. Now's the time for compassion.
Well,
I disagree. But
yeah.
Well, there's no right or wrong answer to this.
I hope not.
But I'm disappointed with Colin doing nothing.
What? It's the only reasonable answer.
1 point to Eric and not to Colin, and Eric gets it.
What a surprise. Chris fucks me.
So I guess that makes Eric the winner.
Yep, he got into space.
So
at
Eric.
Okay.
What do we want?
So
Yeah.
I, Eric, have won the game, but in an unprecedented move of generosity never seen before in the history of John Hates Movies, I am ceding my victory to another player.
Yay!
What?
Yes, and that other player is John Barrett.
Oh,
God damn it, Johnny!
Yeah.
What are we watching next week?
We are watching Superman.
Nope, that's it, you guys. I'll lose the game. I'm going to pick a new movie.
No, like the original man with Christopher Reeve?
That's right.
That song is so fucking good.
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, Superman!
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Next week on John Hates Movies, we watch the 1978, directed by Richard Donner, classic Superman the movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm ready for this. I am
You
ready.
will believe a man can fly. All right, it's
You
a
will
cheesy.
believe that the polarity can be reversed.
Good night, everybody. A great big thank you to our staff graphic artist, Tabby Walters, the Weekly Cast, and our listeners. You can listen to our podcast on iTunes, the Stitcher app, through YouTube, or directly on our website. Feel free to send us a movie review suggestion. Every third episode is Listener Appreciation, where we choose from your suggestions. You can reach us through social media, either by liking our Facebook page, John Hates Movies YouTube channel, or following our Twitter at John Hates Movies. Our music was composed by Kevin MacLeod. You can find this track and many more on his website, incompetech.com. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week to hear someone say...
All right, Sharknado 4, the real bad guy is another dude. And the plot is they have to kill sharks. And they are alive because it's implausible.